Selina Moore survived foster care and abuse, never imagining she'd marry into America's richest dynasty. But at St. Patrick's Cathedral, one vow will shatter tradition and ignite a scandal no one saw coming. Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The morning sun peeked through the curtains of Selina Moore's modest one-bedroom apartment in Detroit. She opened her eyes slowly, realizing this was the last time she would wake up as Selina Moore. Tomorrow she would be Selina Carrington. "I can't believe this is happening," she whispered to herself, touching the simple engagement ring on her finger. At 25, Selina had already lived through more hardship than most people face in a lifetime. Abandoned by her mother at age 3, she had bounced from one foster home to another, some good, many bad. Her last foster father had been the worst, his hands wandering where they shouldn't, his voice threatening when she resisted. She had escaped at 17, just before aging out of the system. The phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. "Hello?" she answered, her voice soft but steady. "It's me," said Nathaniel Carrington, his deep voice instantly bringing a smile to her face. "Just checking to make sure you haven't changed your mind." "Never," she replied. "But I'm still not sure your family feels the same way." Nathaniel sighed on the other end of the line. At 30, he was the golden boy of the Carrington banking dynasty, a family whose wealth and power stretched back generations. With his tall, athletic build, chiseled features, and Harvard education, he had been labeled America's Prince by the society pages. "Don't worry about my family," he said. "This is about us, not them." But Selina couldn't help worrying. The memory of her first dinner at the Carrington mansion still made her stomach tighten. 6 months earlier, Selina had stood nervously outside the imposing gates of the Carrington estate in Connecticut. She smoothed down her simple blue dress, the nicest one she owned, bought specifically for this occasion. "They're just people," Nathaniel had assured her, squeezing her hand. "Very rich, very entitled people, but still just people." The door had been opened by a uniformed maid who led them to a formal dining room that was bigger than Selina's entire apartment. Crystal chandeliers hung from high ceilings, and the table was set with china and silver that probably cost more than her yearly salary at the laundromat. Eleanor Carrington, Nathaniel's mother, had looked Selina up and down with barely concealed disapproval. Her silver blonde hair was perfectly styled, her pearls gleaming at her throat. "So you're the girl Nathaniel has been seeing," she said, not quite offering her hand. "How unexpected." "Mother," Nathaniel warned. "What? I'm simply making conversation." Eleanor's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Selina, is it? Nathaniel tells us you work at a laundromat?" Selina lifted her chin slightly. "Yes, ma'am. Night shifts, while I finish my degree in social work." William Carrington, Nathaniel's father, a tall man with the same strong jaw as his son, raised an eyebrow. "Social work? Not exactly a lucrative field." "Not everything is about money, Dad," Nathaniel said, his voice tight. "Oh, of course not," William replied, swirling his scotch. "But compatibility is important in relationships. Shared backgrounds, shared values." "We share the values that matter," Nathaniel said firmly, taking Selina's hand under the table. The rest of the dinner had been a subtle interrogation. Where had Selina grown up? In foster care. Did she have family coming to the wedding? No. What did she think of the Carrington Foundation's charity work? She admired it, but thought direct services were more effective than galas. By dessert, the message was clear. Selina was a phase, a rebellion, perhaps even a charity case for Nathaniel. The wedding invitation they had received in the mail had been met with shock and dismay. "Are you packed for the hotel?" Nathaniel asked, bringing Selina back to the present. "Almost. My friend Lisa is picking me up in an hour." Lisa had been Selina's roommate in college, and one of the few people who would be sitting on the bride's side of the church. "I can't wait to see you tomorrow. I miss you." "It's only been 2 days," Selina laughed softly. 2 days too long. You know my mother insisted on this whole not seeing the bride before the wedding tradition. "I think she's hoping you'll come to your senses if we're apart," Selina said, only half joking. "Never going to happen," Nathaniel assured her. "I love you, Selina Moore. Tomorrow we make it official." After hanging up, Selina finished packing her small suitcase. Besides her wedding dress, a simple but elegant ivory gown she had found at a boutique that had been kind enough to alter it to fit her perfectly, she didn't have much to bring. The doorbell rang and Lisa burst in, her curly red hair bouncing with excitement. "Wedding Day Eve!" she exclaimed, hugging Selina tightly. "Are you ready to become Mrs. Carrington and make all those snobby blue bloods choke on their champagne? Lisa, Selina tried to look scandalized but couldn't help laughing. I'm not marrying Nate to prove a point. I know. You're marrying him because somehow, against all odds, you two actually fell madly in love. Lisa grabbed Selina's suitcase, which by the way is still the most romantic thing I've ever witnessed. But I'm not going to pretend I won't enjoy seeing his stuck-up friends realize that you're 10 times the woman any of them will ever be. Across town, in the presidential suite of the Grand Hotel, Nathaniel was having drinks with his groomsmen, childhood friends from prep school and college, all from families similar to his own. "Last night of freedom, Nate," called out James Whitmore, raising his glass. "Still time to back out." The men laughed, but Nathaniel didn't join in. "Not funny, James." "Oh, come on, we're just giving you a hard time." Tyler Reynolds clapped him on the back. "Seriously, though, what does your family think about all this? I mean, Eleanor Carrington must be having a fit." "My family will come around," Nathaniel said firmly. "And if they don't, that's their problem." "But why her?" asked Spencer Wright, lowering his voice slightly. "I mean, you could have anyone. Literally anyone. Caroline Hammond has been throwing herself at you for years, and her father owns half of Manhattan." Nathaniel set down his drink with a little too much force. "Because I love her. Because she's real in a way that no one in our world is. Because when I'm with her, I'm a better person." The men exchanged glances, clearly not understanding. "Whatever you say, man," James shrugged. "It's your life." "Yes, it is," Nathaniel agreed, his tone making it clear the subject was closed. Later, alone in his room, Nathaniel called his best man, David Chen. Unlike the others, David had worked his way through college and built his own successful tech company. He was the only one of Nathaniel's friends who seemed to genuinely like Selina. "The guys are being jerks about Selina," Nathaniel said without preamble. "Are you surprised?" David asked. "They've never had to work for anything in their lives. They can't understand someone like Selina. I just want tomorrow to be perfect for her. She deserves that." "It will be," David assured him, "and anyone who can't see how amazing she is doesn't deserve to be there anyway." The morning of the wedding dawned bright and clear. In her hotel room, Selina sat quietly as the makeup artist Nathaniel had insisted on hiring worked on her face. "You have such beautiful bone structure," the woman commented. "And your skin. I've worked with models who would kill for this complexion." Selina smiled politely, but her mind was elsewhere. In a few hours, she would be walking down the aisle of St. Patrick's Cathedral, one of the most famous churches in New York City. The Carringtons had been getting married there for generations. There would be 500 guests, most of them friends and associates of the Carrington family. On her side, there would be barely 20 people, Lisa and a few friends from college and work, her favorite professor from the social work program, and 3 former foster siblings she had stayed in touch with. "All done," the makeup artist announced, turning Selina to face the mirror. Selina caught her breath. The woman had enhanced her features without hiding them, her high cheekbones, her full lips, her expressive brown eyes. Her dark skin seemed to glow from within. "You look beautiful," Lisa said, her eyes misty as she walked in with Selina's dress. "Nathaniel is going to faint when he sees you." Selina laughed nervously. "I just hope I don't trip walking down that long aisle." "You won't," Lisa assured her, helping her into the dress. "You'll float." The ivory gown was simple in design, but perfectly fitted to Selina's slender figure. It hugged her curves before flaring out slightly at the knee. There was no elaborate train or excessive beading, just clean lines and beautiful fabric that complemented her dark skin. "My hair," Selina said suddenly, touching her natural curls that had been styled into an elegant updo. "Do you think I should have straightened it? Would that look more appropriate?" "Absolutely not," Lisa said firmly. "Your hair is gorgeous and part of who you are. Besides, Nathaniel loves it this way." Selina nodded, taking a deep breath. "You're right. I'm not going to pretend to be someone I'm not. Not even today." At the church, Nathaniel stood with his groomsmen near the entrance, greeting early arrivals. His mother had insisted they follow this tradition, though he would have preferred to be waiting at the altar. "Here comes the Brooks family," James muttered. "Their daughter Vanessa is still single, you know. Last chance to upgrade, Nate." The others snickered, but Nathaniel ignored them, shaking hands with Mr. and Mrs. Brooks. As more guests arrived, the comments from his groomsmen continued, just loud enough for Nathaniel to hear, but not for anyone else. "Wait until you see his bride," Tyler whispered to Spencer. "Society page nightmare." "Bro, did he pick her up at a soup kitchen?" Spencer replied with a smirk. "This is going to be one for the tabloids. The prince marries the maid," added James. They thought Nathaniel couldn't hear, but he did. Every word. He clenched his jaw but said nothing. Not yet. There would be a time for that. Inside the cathedral, the guests were taking their seats. The massive space, with its soaring ceilings and stained glass windows, was filled with the elite of New York society. Women in designer dresses and pearl necklaces, men in bespoke suits. The pews on the right side were packed. The left side was noticeably emptier. Eleanor Carrington sat in the front row, her face a mask of composure. Beside her, William Carrington checked his watch repeatedly. "Did you see the guest list?" one woman whispered to another a few rows back. "Half her guests are from a laundromat, can you imagine?" "I give it a year," her companion replied. 2, tops. The organist began to play, signaling that it was time for the ceremony to begin. Nathaniel took his place at the altar, with David and the other groomsmen lined up beside him. He stood tall and confident, but his eyes kept darting to the back of the church. The bridesmaids, all friends of Selina's, walked down the aisle in simple burgundy dresses. They were followed by Lisa, the maid of honor, who gave Nathaniel a small, encouraging smile. Then the music changed. The traditional wedding march began to play. The congregation rose to their feet and turned toward the doors. The massive wooden doors of the cathedral swung open, and there stood Selina. Without a father to walk her down the aisle, she stood alone, a vision in ivory. The sunlight streaming through the stained glass windows seemed to create a halo around her. Her natural hair was styled in an elegant updo, adorned with small white flowers. Her makeup was minimal, enhancing her natural beauty rather than masking it. But what truly captured everyone's attention wasn't the dress or the hair, or even her striking beauty. It was her presence. Selina stood at the entrance of the cathedral with quiet dignity. Her posture was straight, her chin lifted slightly. Her eyes fixed on Nathaniel held such love and certainty that it was almost tangible. A collective gasp echoed through the church. "Oh, wow," Tyler muttered, his mocking tone gone. "She's actually stunning," James whispered, sounding genuinely surprised. Eleanor Carrington's composed mask slipped for a moment as her eyes widened. William stopped checking his watch and stared. And Nathaniel? Nathaniel looked at Selina as if she were the only person in the world. His eyes filled with tears of joy and pride. As the music continued, Selina took her first step down the aisle. She walked slowly, with grace and purpose. Not rushing, not hesitating. Each step deliberate, her eyes never leaving Nathaniel's. The whispers that had filled the church fell silent. All that could be heard was the music and the soft rustle of Selina's dress as she moved. She wasn't walking toward a future she was unsure of. She wasn't walking to prove anything to anyone. She was walking toward the man she loved, with the confidence of someone who knew exactly who she was and what she deserved. And as she approached the altar, the entire congregation held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. As Selina reached the altar, Nathaniel stepped forward to take her hand, but instead of continuing with the ceremony, he paused. Something had shifted in his expression. "Before we continue," he said, his voice clear and strong enough for everyone to hear, "there's something I need to say." Murmurs rippled through the congregation. Eleanor Carrington's perfectly plucked eyebrows shot up in alarm. The priest looked confused. Selina's eyes widened. This wasn't part of the plan. "Nate," she whispered. Nathaniel squeezed her hand reassuringly, then turned to face the congregation. His gaze settled on his groomsmen. "To my so-called friends who laughed behind my back, who said, 'Wait until you see my bride,' well, here she is." The church fell silent. James, Tyler, and Spencer shifted uncomfortably, suddenly finding the floor very interesting. "Take a good look," Nathaniel continued, "because this is what real beauty looks like. Not just what you see, but everything you can't. Her strength, her loyalty, her soul." Selina's hands trembled in his. She had no idea he had heard those cruel comments outside the church. "She didn't grow up with money," Nathaniel went on, his voice growing stronger. "She built herself from scratch. While most of us were handed a life, she survived one." He looked directly at his parents now. "She put herself through college, working night shifts. She volunteers at a shelter for abused women. She has more compassion and integrity in her little finger than most people in this room have in their entire bodies." William Carrington's face had turned an alarming shade of red. Eleanor's lips were pressed into a thin line. "She is the best thing that has ever happened to me," Nathaniel declared. "So if anyone here still has a problem with her being black, being different, or being better than any woman you've ever dated, there's the door." Dead silence filled the cathedral. For a moment, no one moved. Then, in the fifth row, a cousin of Nathaniel's stood up abruptly and walked out, his footsteps echoing on the marble floor. No one else moved. Nathaniel turned back to Selina, whose eyes were shining with unshed tears. He lowered his voice so that only she could hear. "I'm sorry I didn't protect you from their cruelty sooner, but I will for the rest of my life, if you'll still have me. Always," she whispered back. Nathaniel nodded to the priest, who cleared his throat and began the ceremony. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today." The service continued, but something had changed in the atmosphere of the church. The mockery and condescension had been replaced by something different, not quite acceptance, but a grudging respect. When they exchanged vows, Selina's voice was soft but steady. "I, Selina Moore, take you, Nathaniel Carrington, to be my husband, to have and to hold, from this day forward, for better, for worse." Nathaniel's voice, in contrast, rang out confidently. "I, Nathaniel Carrington, take you, Selina Moore, to be my wife, to have and to hold, from this day forward." As the priest pronounced them husband and wife, Nathaniel pulled Selina into a kiss that drew a few gasps from the older guests. It wasn't scandalous, but it was definitely not the chaste peck that was expected in St. Patrick's Cathedral. "Ladies and gentlemen," the priest announced, "I present to you Mr. and Mrs. Carrington." As they turned to face the congregation, the applause was hesitant at first, then grew stronger. Not everyone clapped. Eleanor's hands remained firmly in her lap, but enough did. Arm in arm, they walked back down the aisle. Selina caught Lisa's eye as they passed, and her friend gave her a subtle thumbs up. David, standing with the other groomsmen, was smiling broadly. James, Tyler, and Spencer couldn't quite meet their eyes. Outside the cathedral, photographers clamored for pictures. The society pages had been buzzing for weeks about the Carrington-Moore wedding, and now they wanted their money shot. "Mrs. Carrington, look this way. Nathaniel, Selina, over here." Selina felt overwhelmed by the attention, but Nathaniel's arm around her waist kept her grounded. "Just smile and ignore them," he whispered. "We only need to do a few photos, then we can head to the reception." "I still can't believe what you said in there," Selina said quietly as they posed. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did," he replied. "I should have done it a long time ago." A sleek white limousine waited to take them to the Plaza Hotel, where the reception would be held. Once inside the privacy of the car, Selina finally let her emotions show. "I heard them, you know," she admitted. "Your friends outside the church. I tried to pretend I didn't, but—" Nathaniel pulled her close. "They're not my friends. Not anymore. I don't want to come between you and people you've known your whole life." "You're not," he said firmly. "They did that themselves when they showed their true colors. Besides, I have David, and now, most importantly, I have you." Selina rested her head on his shoulder. "Your mother looked like she was ready to faint when you made that speech." Nathaniel chuckled. "My mother has been in need of a good shock for about 30 years. It'll do her good. Do you think she'll ever accept me?" "I think," Nathaniel said thoughtfully, "that once she sees how happy you make me, she won't have a choice." At the plaza, the ballroom had been transformed into a fairy tale setting. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, and each table was adorned with elaborate floral arrangements. It was far more lavish than anything Selina would have chosen, but Eleanor had insisted on handling the reception details. "A Carrington wedding must meet certain standards," she had declared. The guests mingled during the cocktail hour, sipping champagne and nibbling on hors d'oeuvres. Selina stood by Nathaniel's side, graciously accepting congratulations from people who had likely been gossiping about her just hours before. "Selina, darling," trilled Margaret Whitmore, James's mother. "What a lovely ceremony. Your dress is simply exquisite. So understated." "Thank you," Selina replied politely. "I wanted something simple." "Yes, well, simplicity can be so refreshing sometimes," Margaret said with a thin smile before moving on to greet someone else. "That was almost a compliment," Nathaniel murmured. "Progress," Selina agreed with a small laugh. Eleanor approached them, cocktail in hand. Her face was composed, but her eyes were troubled. "Nathaniel, that little speech of yours at the altar was quite unexpected," she said, her voice low. "Your father is furious." "I'm not surprised," Nathaniel replied calmly. "Was it really necessary to air our family's dirty laundry in front of 500 guests?" "It was necessary to stand up for my wife," he said, emphasizing the last word. Eleanor's gaze shifted to Selina. "Well, what's done is done. You are a Carrington now, for better or worse. I suppose we'll need to arrange some sessions with our family's image consultant. There are certain expectations for a Carrington wife." Before Selina could respond, Nathaniel cut in. Mother, Selina doesn't need an image consultant. She's perfect exactly as she is. Don't be naive, Nathaniel. There will be charity boards, foundation galas, business dinners. She'll need guidance. Selina placed a gentle hand on Nathaniel's arm. It's all right, she said, then turned to Eleanor. Mrs. Carrington, I appreciate your concern, but I've managed to navigate difficult situations my entire life. I'm sure I can handle a few charity galas. Eleanor looked taken aback, clearly not expecting such a measured response. Well, we'll see, I suppose. She glanced over Selina's shoulder. The Vandermeers have arrived. I should greet them. With that, she walked away. Round one to you, Nathaniel said with admiration. Most people can't leave my mother speechless. I wasn't trying to win, Selina said, but I won't let her make me feel small either. As the reception continued, Selina found herself separated from Nathaniel as guests pulled him into conversations. She stood alone for a moment, taking in the grandeur of the ballroom, when James approached her. Mrs. Carrington, he said, his usual cockiness subdued. I owe you an apology. Selina regarded him steadily. Yes, you do. James had the grace to look embarrassed. What I said outside the church, it was wrong. I was wrong. Why did you say it? Selina asked. James hesitated. Honestly? Because it was easier than admitting that Nate might have found something real while the rest of us are still playing games. He ran a hand through his hair. I've known Nate since we were kids. I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. Selina didn't immediately respond. Anyway, James continued awkwardly, I just wanted to say I'm sorry, and congratulations. Thank you, Selina said finally. But I'm not the only one you need to apologize to. I know, James nodded. I'll talk to Nate. As James walked away, Lisa appeared at Selina's side with 2 glasses of champagne. Was that one of the jerks from outside the church? Yes, Selina confirmed, accepting a glass. He was apologizing. Wonders never cease, Lisa remarked dryly. How are you holding up? This is quite the circus. It's overwhelming, Selina admitted. But seeing Nate stand up for me like that, it made everything else fade away. Lisa clinked her glass against Selina's. To finding a man who isn't afraid to burn down the world for you. Selina laughed. I don't want him to burn down anything. I just want us to build something together. Across the room, Nathaniel was trapped in conversation with his father and several business associates. That was quite a show you put on, William said in a low voice. I hope you're satisfied. Very, Nathaniel replied. You embarrassed this family in front of everyone who matters in New York. No, Dad. You embarrassed yourselves by treating Selina like she was beneath you. William's jaw tightened. I've indulged this rebellion of yours long enough. It's time you remembered your responsibilities to this family and the company. I'm well aware of my responsibilities, Nathaniel said, but my first responsibility now is to my wife. Wife? William scoffed. You could have had anyone. Caroline Hammond, the Brooks girl, even that European princess you dated in college. But you chose her. Yes, I did. And it was the best decision I ever made. Well, I hope you're prepared for the consequences. The board won't be pleased when they hear about this spectacle. Nathaniel laughed without humor. Are you threatening my position because I married someone you don't approve of? I'm simply stating facts, William replied coldly. Actions have consequences. Yes, they do, Nathaniel agreed, and I'm prepared to face them. The dinner was announced and guests began to find their seats. Selina and Nathaniel took their places at the head table, alongside their wedding party. Everything okay? Selina asked, noticing the tension in Nathaniel's shoulders. My father is being his usual charming self, he replied with a tight smile. Apparently, I've jeopardized my position at the company by marrying you. Selina's face fell. Nate, I never wanted to cause problems for you. You haven't, he said firmly, taking her hand. If they can't accept my wife, then maybe I don't want to be part of the company anyway. But it's your family legacy, your birthright. None of that matters if I have to compromise who I am and who I love to have it. He lifted her hand to his lips. We'll figure it out together. The first course was served, and David stood up to give his best man speech. Unlike the others, David had welcomed Selina from the beginning. His Asian American parents had worked hard to build a life in America, and he understood what it meant to face prejudice. I've known Nate since our freshman year at Harvard, David began. Back then he was exactly what you'd expect from a Carrington, privileged, confident, maybe a little entitled. This drew a laugh from the guests. But underneath all that, there was always something more, a kindness, an awareness that not everyone had it as easy as he did. David smiled at Nathaniel. When he told me about Selena, I wasn't surprised that he had fallen for someone so different from the women he usually dated. I was just surprised it had taken him so long to figure out what he really wanted. He raised his glass. To Nate and Selena, may your life together be as beautiful and authentic as your love for each other. The guests raised their glasses. To Nate and Selena. Tyler was next, looking considerably less comfortable. His speech was brief and focused mainly on college anecdotes about Nathaniel, barely mentioning Selena at all. Lisa's maid of honor speech, in contrast, was warm and heartfelt. When Selena told me she was dating Nathaniel Carrington, I'll admit I was skeptical, she said candidly. I figured he was just another rich guy slumming it for a while before going back to his world of privilege. She looked at Nathaniel with genuine admiration. I've never been happier to be wrong. Nate, the way you look at my friend, like she's the most precious thing in the world, is all I needed to see to know you deserve her. As the dinner progressed, Selena began to relax slightly. The worst was over. They had made it through the ceremony, Nathaniel had stood up for her, and now they were officially husband and wife. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. After dinner, it was time for their first dance. Nathaniel led her to the center of the ballroom as the band began to play At Last by Etta James, Selena's choice. You're doing amazingly, he whispered as they swayed to the music. Everyone is enchanted by you. I doubt that, she said with a small smile, but as long as you are, that's all that matters. Always, he promised. From the moment I saw you stacking those towels at the laundromat, I was a goner. Selena laughed at the memory. Nathaniel had wandered into the laundromat near his office one rainy night when his driver had called in sick and he needed a place to wait for an Uber. He had been completely out of place in his expensive suit, looking utterly bewildered by the row of washing machines. Can I help you? Selena had asked, pausing in her task of folding clean towels. I hope so, he had replied with a charming smile. I seem to be stranded, and I have no idea how these machines work. She had shown him how to use the dryer for his rain-soaked jacket, and they had ended up talking for an hour while he waited for it to dry. He had asked for her number before leaving, and to her surprise, he had actually called the next day. Now, as they danced in the grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel, that rainy night seemed like a lifetime ago. What are you thinking about? Nathaniel asked, noticing her distant expression. How far we've come, she replied, and how far we still have to go. As the dance ended, William Carrington approached them. His expression was unreadable. May I have this dance? He asked Selena. Surprised, she looked at Nathaniel, who nodded encouragingly. Of course, she said, taking William's offered hand. They moved stiffly at first, William keeping a formal distance between them. I want to be clear about something, he said after a moment. I have concerns about this marriage. I'm aware, Selena replied calmly. Not for the reasons you might think, he continued. Yes, your background is unconventional for our family, but my main concern is for my son. He's giving up a lot for you. I haven't asked him to give up anything. You don't have to ask. He's already chosen you over his friends, his family's approval, possibly even his position in the company. Selena met his gaze steadily. Mr. Carrington, I love your son. I want him to have everything he deserves, including his birthright in your company. But I won't apologize for where I come from or who I am. William studied her for a long moment. You're stronger than you look. I've had to be. Nathaniel needs that strength, he said unexpectedly. The business world isn't kind, even to Carringtons. The dance ended, and William stepped back. Welcome to the family, Selena, he said, not warmly but not unkindly either. I hope for Nathaniel's sake that you prove me wrong about all this. I intend to, she replied. As William walked away, Nathaniel returned to her side. What did my father say to you? I think, Selena said slowly, that he might be coming around. A little. Miracles never cease, Nathaniel said dryly. The rest of the reception passed in a blur of cake cutting, bouquet tossing, and more dancing. By the time they were ready to leave for their honeymoon, Selena was exhausted but happy. In the privacy of the limousine that would take them to the airport for their flight to Bali, she finally relaxed completely, kicking off her shoes and leaning against Nathaniel's shoulder. We did it, she said with a tired smile. We're actually married. Yes, we are, Mrs. Carrington, he replied, kissing the top of her head. That's going to take some getting used to. We have the rest of our lives for that. Selena looked up at him. Thank you for what you did today, standing up for me like that. I'd do it again in a heartbeat, he said seriously. I should have done it sooner. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you did it when it counted the most. As the limousine pulled away from the plaza, leaving behind the glittering reception and all the whispers and judgments, Selina felt a sense of peace wash over her. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. She had no illusions about that. Eleanor would continue to be difficult. The society pages would scrutinize her every move, and there would always be people who thought she wasn't good enough for Nathaniel Carrington. But none of that mattered now. What mattered was the man beside her, who had chosen her over everything else, who had seen her worth when no one else did. "I love you," she said simply. "I love you too," he replied. "More than you'll ever know." And as the lights of New York City flashed past the windows, Selina allowed herself to believe, truly believe, that their love was strong enough to overcome anything that lay ahead. The Bali honeymoon had been a dream. 2 weeks of pristine beaches, luxurious accommodations, and blissful isolation from the rest of the world. But as their private jet touched down at JFK Airport, reality began to seep back in. "Ready to face the real world, Mrs. Carrington?" Nathaniel asked, squeezing Selina's hand as they prepared to disembark. "As ready as I'll ever be," she replied with a small smile. The name still felt strange to her. Selina Carrington. Like a costume she hadn't quite grown into yet, a sleek black car was waiting for them on the tarmac. The driver, a middle-aged man in a crisp uniform, nodded respectfully. "Welcome back, Mr. and Mrs. Carrington." "Thank you, George," Nathaniel said. "Home, please." Home. That was another adjustment Selina was still making. Home was now Nathaniel's penthouse in Manhattan, a sprawling 3-story apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. It was beautiful, but it didn't feel like hers yet. As they rode through the city, Selina's phone chimed with a message. It was Lisa. "Welcome back. How was paradise? And more importantly, have you seen the latest issue of Manhattan Society?" Selina frowned. "No, why?" A moment later, Lisa sent a photo of the magazine cover. There they were, Selina and Nathaniel walking down the aisle of St. Patrick's Cathedral. The headline read, "Carrington, Airwed's Mystery Woman, True Love or Rebellion?" "Ignore it," Nathaniel said, glancing at her phone. "Those magazines thrive on stirring up drama." "I know," Selina said. "I just didn't expect to be on the cover." "You'd better get used to it," he said gently. "The Carrington name comes with a spotlight. But it'll die down eventually." When they arrived at the penthouse, Selina was surprised to find fresh flowers in every room and a note from Mrs. Reynolds, the housekeeper. "Welcome home, Mr. and Mrs. Carrington. Dinner is prepared in the warming oven. Mrs. Eleanor Carrington called to invite you to dinner tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Selina felt a knot form in her stomach. "Your mother wants to see us already. We've been back for all of 5 minutes." "That's mother for you," Nathaniel said, loosening his tie, always eager to reassert control. "Do we have to go?" "We could decline," he offered, "but it might be better to get it over with." Selina sighed. "You're right. I just thought we'd have a little more time in our bubble." Nathaniel pulled her into his arms. "Hey, no matter what happens with my family or anyone else, this is our home, our life. Nothing changes that." The next evening, they arrived at the Carrington Mansion in Connecticut. The imposing stone house looked even more intimidating in the fading light. "Remember," Nathaniel said as they walked up the steps, "you're a Carrington now. You have every right to be here." Eleanor opened the door herself, which was unusual. Normally the housekeeper would greet guests. "Nathaniel, Selina," she said with a thin smile. "Welcome back. I hope Bali was everything you expected." "It was wonderful, Mother," Nathaniel replied, kissing her cheek. "Where's Dad?" "Your father is in his study. He'll join us for dinner." Eleanor led them to the formal living room. "I thought we might have a little chat first." Selina exchanged a glance with Nathaniel. This didn't sound promising. "So," Eleanor said once they were seated, "I've been thinking about your future, Selina. As a Carrington wife, you'll be expected to take on certain responsibilities." "What kind of responsibilities?" Selina asked cautiously. "Charity work, primarily. The Carrington Foundation hosts several major fundraisers each year, and there's the Children's Hospital Board, the Metropolitan Museum Gala Committee." Eleanor waved a hand, as if these were trivial matters. "I've taken the liberty of having my assistant arrange a lunch for you with Vivian Pierce. She's the Foundation's event coordinator." "I see," Selina said, keeping her voice neutral. "That's very thoughtful of you." "It's necessary," Eleanor corrected. "The society pages are already speculating about your background. We need to establish you as a proper Carrington as quickly as possible." "Mother," Nathaniel warned, "Selina doesn't need to be established as anything." "Don't be naive, Nathaniel," Eleanor snapped. Your little speech at the wedding may have made you feel better, but it hasn't changed how our world works. If Selina is going to be accepted, she needs guidance. I appreciate your concern, Mrs. Carrington, Selina said, sitting up straighter, but I already have commitments of my own. I work at the East Side Women's Shelter 3 days a week, and I'm finishing my master's thesis in social work. Eleanor's eyebrows rose. Surely you don't intend to continue working now that you're married? Of course I do, Selina replied. My work is important to me, but it's not necessary anymore, Eleanor insisted. You're a Carrington now. You don't need to work. It's not about needing to work, Selina explained patiently. It's about wanting to make a difference. Eleanor looked to Nathaniel. Surely you don't approve of this. I support Selina in whatever she chooses to do, he said firmly, and I think her work is far more meaningful than planning galas. Before Eleanor could respond, William entered the room. Ah, the newlyweds have returned, he said, his tone unreadable. How is Barley? Beautiful, Nathaniel answered, standing to shake his father's hand, but it's good to be back. Indeed, William said, especially given the current situation at the company. What situation? Nathaniel asked, instantly alert. We can discuss it over dinner, William replied, gesturing toward the dining room. The massive oak table was set for 4, with the finest china and silver. As they took their seats, Selina couldn't help but feel like she was walking into a trap. So, William began as the first course was served, the board held an emergency meeting while you were away. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. On what grounds? Several board members expressed concerns about recent events, William said carefully. About your judgment and commitment to the company's future. You mean my marriage, Nathaniel stated flatly. Among other things, William acknowledged. Your speech at the wedding made many of our oldest clients uncomfortable. Richard Whitmore is threatening to pull his accounts. Because I defended my wife against his son's ridiculous comments? If that's the kind of client we have, maybe we're better off without them. It's not that simple, and you know it, William countered. The Whitmores have been with Carrington Banking for 4 generations. Their accounts represent over 50 million in assets. And that justifies letting them disrespect Selina? Business is business, Nathaniel. Personal feelings shouldn't enter into it. They already have, Nathaniel pointed out, just not on my side. Selina remained quiet, pushing food around her plate. This was exactly what she had feared, that her presence in Nathaniel's life would damage his relationship with his family and his position at the company. In any case, William continued, the board has voted to temporarily reassign some of your responsibilities, just until things settle down. You're demoting me, Nathaniel asked incredulously. We're giving you space to focus on your new marriage, Eleanor interjected smoothly. It's quite common for newlyweds to need time to adjust. That's absurd, and you know it, Nathaniel said, his voice rising. This is punishment, plain and simple. Think of it as a cooling-off period, William suggested. Alexander Harris will take over the Maxwell account for now. You'll still handle your other major clients. Alex Harris couldn't close the Maxwell deal if his life depended on it, Nathaniel argued. I've been working on that account for 2 years. The decision has been made, William said with finality. The transfer happens tomorrow. Nathaniel threw his napkin on the table. This is ridiculous. I'm the best investment manager at the firm, and you know it. My personal life has nothing to do with my ability to do my job. Your personal choices reflect on the company, William countered. The Carrington name means something in this town, so I've been reminded my entire life, Nathaniel said bitterly. Selina finally spoke up. I'm sorry this is causing problems for you, Nathaniel. Maybe I should talk to the board myself. Explain that. Absolutely not, Nathaniel interrupted. You have nothing to explain or apologize for. Selina, Eleanor said, her voice suddenly gentle, I understand this is difficult, but surely you can see that your relationship has complicated things for Nathaniel. Perhaps if you were to take a step back. Are you suggesting she leave me? Nathaniel asked incredulously. Of course not, Eleanor backpedaled. I'm simply saying that perhaps a more traditional approach might help. Selina could focus on establishing herself socially, supporting your career from a more appropriate distance. And what would that accomplish exactly? Selina asked, her voice calm despite the anger building inside her. It would show that you understand your place in this family, Eleanor replied, that you respect our traditions. My place? Selina repeated. And where exactly is that, Mrs. Carrington? Behind Nathaniel? In your shadow? Hidden away until I'm deemed acceptable by your friends? That's not what I meant, Eleanor said. though her expression suggested otherwise. "I think it's exactly what you meant," Selina replied, "but I won't be sidelined or hidden away. I won't pretend to be someone I'm not just to make others comfortable." "Bravo," William said unexpectedly, a hint of admiration in his voice. The others looked at him in surprise. "What? I appreciate directness. It's refreshing." "Dad, you can't possibly agree with Mother's suggestion," Nathaniel said. "I didn't say I agreed," William clarified. "I said I appreciated Selina's directness. In fact, I think your wife might have more backbone than half the people on our board." Eleanor looked scandalized. "William! Oh, come now, Eleanor. You've been trying to intimidate the girl since she arrived, and she hasn't flinched once. You have to admire that." Selina wasn't sure if she was being complimented or insulted. "Mr. Carrington, I don't want to cause problems for Nathaniel at work, but I won't be treated like I'm something to be ashamed of either." "Fair enough," William nodded. "And as for you," he turned to Nathaniel, "if you want to keep the Maxwell account, you'll have to fight for it. Show the board that your personal life isn't affecting your work." "I shouldn't have to prove myself because of who I married," Nathaniel argued. "No, you shouldn't," William agreed, "but that's the reality. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" The rest of dinner passed in tense silence. When they finally left, Selina felt emotionally drained. "I'm sorry," she said as they drove back to the city. "This is exactly what I was afraid would happen." "None of this is your fault," Nathaniel insisted. "My father is testing me, and my mother is being her usual controlling self. But what if they're right? What if marrying me does damage your career?" Nathaniel pulled the car over to the side of the road and turned to face her. "Listen to me. My career is important, but not more important than you. If Carrington Banking can't accept my wife, then maybe I need to find somewhere that will." "You can't leave your family's company," Selina protested. "It's your heritage." "It's just a job," he said firmly. "A good one, yes, but still just a job. You are my life, my future." Selina felt tears well up in her eyes. "I love you so much." "I love you too," he said, pulling her close. "We'll figure this out, together." The next morning, Nathaniel left early for work, determined to confront the board about their decision. Selina had a meeting at the women's shelter, followed by a session with her thesis advisor at Columbia. As she walked across the Columbia campus, her phone rang. It was a number she didn't recognize. "Hello? Mrs. Carrington? This is Vivian Pierce from the Carrington Foundation. Your mother-in-law suggested I call to set up that lunch we discussed." Selina suppressed a sigh. Eleanor wasn't wasting any time. "Miss Pierce, I appreciate the call, but I'm very busy with my own work and studies right now." "Of course, but this is rather important," Vivian insisted. "The Foundation's annual gala is just 6 weeks away, and as Mrs. Nathaniel Carrington, you'll be expected to play a significant role." "Expected by whom?" Selina asked. There was a pause. "Well, by everyone, really. It's tradition for Carrington wives to co-chair the event with Mrs. Eleanor Carrington." "I see," Selina said. "And did Mrs. Carrington mention that I work at the East Side Women's Shelter, and I'm completing my master's degree?" "She mentioned you had some hobbies," Vivian replied delicately. Selina had to bite her tongue to keep from snapping. "My work and education are not hobbies, Miss Pierce. They're my career." "Of course," Vivian backpedaled. "I didn't mean to offend. Perhaps we could start with something smaller. The Foundation's junior committee meets once a month. It's mostly younger wives from prominent families. They focus on smaller fundraising events." Selina considered this. She didn't want to alienate everyone in Nathaniel's world, and maybe building some alliances would help. "When is the next meeting?" "This Friday at the Metropolitan Club, noon to 2. "I'll try to make it," Selina promised, though she wasn't thrilled about the idea. Later that day, she met Lisa for coffee near the shelter. She needed to talk to someone who understood her, someone from her own world. "So basically they're trying to turn you into one of them," Lisa summarized, after Selina explained the situation. "Pretty much," Selina agreed. "Eleanor has this whole plan mapped out. Charity work, social events, lunches with the right people, as if I don't have my own life already." "Are you going to do it? Join the junior committee thing?" Selina shrugged. "I figured I should at least try. These people are part of Nathaniel's life, and now they're part of mine too, whether I like it or not." "Just don't let them change you," Lisa warned. "That's what they want, you know, to smooth out all your edges until you fit into their perfect little box." "That's not going to happen," Selina promised. "I'm just trying to find a balance." "And how's Nathaniel handling all this?" "He's amazing," Selina said, a smile softening her features. "He stood up to his parents, told them our marriage was non-negotiable. He even talked about leaving the company if they don't accept me. Wow, Lisa said, impressed. Prince Charming is actually living up to the title. But I don't want him to have to choose, Selina admitted. His family is important to him, even with all their flaws. And the company, it's his birthright. So what are you going to do? I don't know yet, Selina sighed. But I won't let them bully me into being someone I'm not. When Selina returned to the penthouse that evening, she found Nathaniel already home, a rare occurrence. He was usually at the office until late. How did it go with the board? She asked cautiously. About as well as you'd expect, he replied, loosening his tie. They're standing firm on reassigning the Maxwell account, for now. I'm sorry. Don't be. I made it clear that I'm not backing down either. I'm going to prove I can handle my responsibilities regardless of who I'm married to. He gave her a tired smile. How was your day? Interesting, she said. Your mother's event planner called. Apparently I'm expected to co-chair the foundation's annual gala. Nathaniel groaned. Of course she did. You don't have to do that, you know. I know, but I did agree to attend a junior committee meeting on Friday. I thought maybe I should try to build some bridges. That's more generous than they deserve, Nathaniel said, pulling her into his arms. But it's also very you. Selina rested her head against his chest. I just don't want our marriage to be a constant battle. I want us to find a way to make this work. All of it. Your family, your career, my work. We will, he promised. It's just going to take time. Friday came quickly, and Selina found herself standing outside the Metropolitan Club, a storied institution that had once denied membership to women entirely. Now, it reluctantly hosted the Carrington Foundation's junior committee in one of its smaller dining rooms. Taking a deep breath, she walked inside. The doorman looked her over with barely concealed suspicion. May I help you, miss? I'm here for the Carrington Foundation meeting, she said. I'm Selina Carrington. His expression changed immediately. Of course, Mrs. Carrington, right this way. He led her to an elegant dining room where about 20 women were already gathered, all impeccably dressed in designer clothes, their hair and makeup flawless. Selina felt underdressed in her simple navy dress and minimal makeup. Vivian Pierce hurried over, a brittle smile on her face. Mrs. Carrington, I'm so pleased you could make it. Let me introduce you to everyone. What followed was a blur of names and faces. Mrs. This and Mrs. That, all of them married to important men in finance, law, or old family money. Selina tried to keep track of who was who, but they all seemed to blend together in a sea of pearls and Chanel suits. And this is Caroline Hammond, Vivian said, introducing a stunning blonde with cold blue eyes. Her father runs Hammond Investments. So you're the famous Selina, Caroline said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. We've all been dying to meet you. Something in her tone made Selina wary. It's nice to meet you too. Nathaniel and I dated in college, Caroline continued. Did he mention that? He might have, Selina replied neutrally, though Nathaniel had indeed told her about Caroline, a brief relationship that had been more about their family's expectations than any real connection. We were quite serious, actually, Caroline pressed. Everyone expected us to end up together eventually. But then he went through this phase of dating, interesting people. The implication was clear. Selina was just another of Nathaniel's interesting diversions. How lucky for me that he did, Selina replied with a sweet smile of her own. Caroline's eyes narrowed slightly, but before she could respond, Vivian called the meeting to order. The discussion revolved around the upcoming gala, table arrangements, silent auction items, and which society photographer to hire. Selina listened politely, occasionally offering a suggestion, most of which were politely acknowledged and then ignored. When the topic turned to the charity the gala would benefit, a music program for underprivileged children, Selina finally spoke up with more conviction. Have any of you actually visited the program? She asked. The room fell silent. Well, no, Vivian admitted, but their director sent over a very comprehensive proposal. I think it would be meaningful if some of us went to see the work firsthand, Selina suggested. It would help us speak more passionately about the cause at the gala. That's an interesting idea, Caroline said, in a tone that suggested it was anything but. But we're all so busy with our own commitments. I'd be happy to organize a visit, Selina offered. I have experience working with similar programs through the Women's Shelter. The Women's Shelter? One of the other women asked, her brow furrowed in confusion. Yes, I work at the Eastside Women's Shelter 3 days a week, Selina explained. I'm also finishing my master's in social work. This revelation was met with awkward silence, followed by a flurry of 2 bright smiles. How philanthropic of you, Caroline commented. though I'm sure Nathaniel would prefer to have you at home more. Actually, Nathaniel is very supportive of my work, Selina corrected her. He understands that it's important to me. Well, not everyone can be born into a life of privilege, Caroline said with a patronizing smile. It's admirable that you're trying to better yourself. Selina felt her temper rising but kept her voice calm. I'm not trying to better myself, Caroline. I'm trying to make a difference in the lives of women who have been through domestic violence and homelessness. But I wouldn't expect you to understand that. Caroline's face flushed with anger, but Vivian quickly intervened. Let's move on to the menu selections, shall we? The caterer needs our final choices by next week. The rest of the meeting passed in tense politeness. When it was finally over, Selina couldn't get out of there fast enough. Outside, she took a deep breath of fresh air, feeling like she'd just escaped from a beautiful prison. She was about to call for a car when she heard someone calling her name. Mrs. Carrington. Selina, wait. She turned to see a younger woman hurrying after her. Jennifer something, if she remembered correctly, one of the quieter committee members. I just wanted to say, Jennifer said, slightly out of breath, I think your idea about visiting the music program was really good. I'd like to go if you do organize something. Selina was surprised. Thank you. I'd be happy to set it up. And, Jennifer hesitated, I think it's amazing that you work at a shelter. My aunt was in an abusive relationship for years. A place like that might have helped her. It's never too late, Selina said gently. If she ever needs resources, please let me know. Jennifer nodded. I will. And don't let Caroline get to you. She's just bitter because Nathaniel chose you instead of her. Thanks for the warning, Selina smiled. Will I see you at the next meeting? Definitely, Jennifer confirmed. Maybe we can sit together. As Jennifer walked away, Selina felt a small spark of hope. Maybe she could find allies in this world after all. Maybe there was a way to bridge these two very different parts of her life. That evening, she told Nathaniel about the meeting over dinner. So basically, Caroline Hammond tried to mark her territory, and the rest of them treated you like a charity case, he summarized, his expression darkening. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. It wasn't all bad, Selina said. One of them, Jennifer, actually seemed genuinely nice, and I think some of the others might come around eventually. You're more optimistic than I am, Nathaniel said, but that's one of the things I love about you. How was your day? She asked, changing the subject. His expression brightened. Actually, I had a breakthrough with the Johnson account. If I can land their business, it would more than make up for losing Maxwell. It might even be enough to convince the board to reconsider. That's wonderful, Selina exclaimed. What can I do to help? Well, Nathaniel said thoughtfully, Johnson is bringing his wife to our meeting next week. Apparently she has a lot of influence on his decisions. It might help if you could join us for dinner afterward. Of course, Selina agreed immediately. Just tell me when and where. You're sure? I know these business dinners aren't exactly your idea of fun. I'm sure, she said firmly. We're a team, remember? If having dinner with the Johnsons will help you, then that's what we'll do. Nathaniel reached across the table to take her hand. What did I do to deserve you? You saw me, she said simply. The real me. Not where I came from or what I looked like, but who I am inside. That's more than most people ever do. As they finished dinner, Selina's phone chimed with a message. It was from William Carrington, which was surprising. He rarely contacted her directly. I'd like to meet with you. Alone. Monday, 10 a.m. my office. Important matter to discuss. She showed the message to Nathaniel, who frowned. What could he possibly want to discuss with you alone? I have no idea, Selina replied, feeling uneasy. But I guess I'll find out on Monday. You don't have to go, Nathaniel said. Whatever he has to say, he can say to both of us. No, I should hear him out, Selina decided. Maybe he's finally ready to accept me. Or maybe he's going to try to buy you off, Nathaniel said darkly. It wouldn't be the first time the Carrington family tried to solve a problem with money. I'm not for sale, Selina said firmly, and I'm not going anywhere. Whatever your father has to say, it won't change that. Nathaniel pulled her close. Just promise me you'll call me right after, okay? I promise, she said, kissing him softly. No matter what your father says or does, we're in this together. As they got ready for bed that night, Selina couldn't help wondering what William wanted to discuss. Was it another attempt to push her away from Nathaniel, or was it something else entirely? Whatever it was, she would face it head-on. She had survived foster care, abuse, poverty, and prejudice. She could certainly handle one more conversation with William Carrington. But as she drifted off to sleep in Nathaniel's arms, a small seed of worry took root in her mind. The Carringtons were powerful people, used to getting their way. How far would they go to protect what they saw as theirs? Monday's meeting would provide the answer, and Selina needed to be ready for whatever came next. Monday morning arrived with grey skies and a steady drizzle. Selina stood outside the imposing Carrington banking headquarters, a gleaming skyscraper in the heart of Manhattan's financial district. The building seemed to embody everything the Carrington family represented: power, wealth, and tradition. She smoothed down her simple but elegant black dress and took a deep breath. Whatever William Carrington wanted to discuss, she was determined to face it with dignity. The security guard at the front desk looked up as she approached. "I'm here to see William Carrington," she said. "I'm Selina Carrington." Recognition flickered in the guard's eyes. "Yes, Mrs. Carrington. Mr. Carrington is expecting you. Top floor, end of the hall." The elevator ride to the executive floor seemed to take forever. When the doors finally opened, Selina stepped into a world of understated luxury: plush carpets, mahogany paneling, and oil paintings of stern-looking men who had to be Carringtons from generations past. William's assistant, an efficient-looking woman in her 50s, stood as Selina approached. "Mrs. Carrington, please go right in. Mr. Carrington is waiting for you." William was standing at the window when Selina entered, gazing out at the rain-soaked city. He turned as the door closed behind her. "Selina, thank you for coming." His tone was businesslike but not unfriendly. "Please sit down." She took a seat in one of the leather chairs facing his massive desk. "Your message sounded important." "It is," William confirmed, sitting down across from her. "I'll get straight to the point. I've been watching you since the wedding. How you handle yourself, how you respond to challenges." Selina waited, unsure where this was going. "I've also been watching my son," William continued. "He's been working twice as hard since the board's decision, staying late, coming in early, determined to prove himself." "Nathaniel is very committed to his work," Selina said carefully. "Yes, he is," William agreed. "More so now than ever before, and I think you're the reason for that." Selina tensed. "I don't understand." William leaned forward, resting his elbows on the desk. "For years, Nathaniel has had everything handed to him. The Carrington name opened every door. His success was practically guaranteed. He worked hard," Selina defended. "He graduated top of his class at Harvard." "Yes, but without the pressure of real consequences," William pointed out. "Until now, until you. So this is about blaming me for the problems at work?" "No," William surprised her by saying. "It's about thanking you." Selina blinked in confusion. "Thanking me?" William stood and walked to a side table, pouring 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to Selina before continuing. "My son has always had potential, but he's never been truly tested. He's never had to fight for anything that mattered to him." He took a sip of his coffee. "Until you came along." "I still don't understand what you're trying to say," Selina admitted. "I'm saying that loving you has made my son a stronger, more determined man," William explained. "The board's decision was difficult, yes, but I've seen how Nathaniel has responded to it. He's not backing down. He's not taking the easy way out. He's fighting." "You sound almost proud of him." "I am," William acknowledged. "More than I've been in a long time." Selina set her coffee cup down, studying William's face. "So you're not going to ask me to leave him, to step aside for the good of the family?" William actually laughed at that. "Would you if I asked?" "No," Selina said without hesitation. "I love your son. I won't give him up, not even for the Carrington legacy." "I know," William nodded. "That's another reason I wanted to speak with you. Your loyalty, your strength. These are qualities the Carrington family needs more of, not less." Selina was stunned. This was the last thing she had expected from William Carrington. "There's something else," William continued, opening a drawer in his desk. He pulled out a manila folder and slid it across to her. "I had my people look into your background." Selina stiffened. "Why?" "Standard procedure for anyone marrying into the family," William said matter-of-factly. "But what they found, well, it made me see you in a new light." With hesitation, Selina opened the folder. Inside was a detailed report on her life: foster homes, school records, work history, and more disturbing, details about her last foster father, the one who had abused her. "This is private," she said, closing the folder. "You had no right." "Perhaps not," William conceded, "but it helped me understand why my son fell in love with you, your resilience, your determination to rise above your circumstances. These are rare qualities, Selina." "So now that you know I was abused, I'm worthy of your son?" Selina asked, anger rising in her voice. "No," William said firmly. "You're worthy because of how you responded to that abuse. You didn't let it break you. You used it to fuel your desire to help others. Your work at the women's shelter isn't charity or a hobby, it's a calling. Selina was speechless. This was not at all what she had expected from William Carrington. Now, William continued, his tone becoming more businesslike, I have a proposition for you. What kind of proposition? Selina asked warily. The Carrington Foundation does good work, but it's always been distant, writing checks to worthy causes, but never really getting involved. I'd like to change that. He looked at her directly. And I'd like your help to do it. My help? Yes. I want to establish a new division within the foundation, focused on domestic violence and women's empowerment, and I want you to run it. Selina's mouth fell open in shock. You want me to work for the Carrington Foundation? Not work for it, William corrected. Lead it. This would be your division with real funding and real impact. You'd report directly to me, not Eleanor or the committee. Why? Selina asked, still suspicious. Why would you offer this to me? Several reasons, William replied. First, you have the expertise and passion for this work. Second, it would give you a legitimate role within the family business, one that uses your talents. And third, frankly, it would help smooth over some of the disruption caused by your marriage. So this is about appearances after all, Selina said, disappointed. Partially, William admitted. I won't lie to you about that. But it's also about recognizing what you bring to this family. Your perspective, your experience, your heart. These are assets, Selina, not liabilities. Selina took a moment to process this unexpected offer. What does Nathaniel know about this? Nothing, William said. This is between you and me. I wanted to speak with you directly, without his influence. I'd need to discuss it with him before making any decision, Selina insisted. Of course, William agreed. But I hope you'll consider it seriously. This is a chance to do the work you care about on a much larger scale. Selina nodded slowly. I'll think about it. Good, William said, standing to indicate the meeting was over. One more thing. The board is reconsidering its position on Nathaniel's accounts. His work on the Johnson deal has been impressive. I'm glad to hear that, Selina said, rising from her chair. Nathaniel deserves recognition for his work, regardless of who he's married to. Yes, he does, William agreed. And while we're being honest with each other, I should tell you that I still have reservations about your marriage. Not because of who you are, but because of the challenges you two will face. We're stronger than you think, Selina said confidently. I'm beginning to see that, William acknowledged. Now, I believe you have a thesis meeting this afternoon. Don't let me keep you. Selina was surprised he knew her schedule. Yes, at 1 o'clock. My car is downstairs. It can take you to Columbia. Thank you, but I'm fine taking a taxi. William smiled slightly. Stubborn independence, another quality my son could use more of. As Selina rode the elevator back down to the lobby, her mind was spinning. This meeting had gone nothing like she expected. William Carrington, offering her a position at the foundation, praising her qualities. It seemed almost too good to be true, and maybe it was. She wouldn't put it past William to have ulterior motives. Perhaps this was just a more sophisticated way of trying to control her, to bring her under the Carrington umbrella, where they could keep an eye on her. But what if it wasn't? What if this was a genuine opportunity to do meaningful work on a larger scale, to help more women like herself? She needed to talk to Nathaniel. He offered you what? Nathaniel exclaimed when she told him that evening. My father, William Carrington. I was just as shocked, Selina assured him. I still don't know what to make of it. They were sitting in their living room, the lights of the city twinkling beyond the windows as the rain continued to fall. It could be a trap, Nathaniel said cautiously, a way to bring you under his control. That's what I thought at first, Selina admitted. But the more I think about it, the more it seems like he might be sincere. He said some surprising things about you, about us. Like what? Like how proud he is of how hard you've been working, how facing these challenges has made you stronger. Nathaniel looked skeptical. That doesn't sound like my father. I know, Selina agreed. But he seemed different, more thoughtful. And he knew things about my background, Nate, things I haven't even told you about my last foster home. Nathaniel's expression darkened. What things? Selina hesitated. She had never told Nathaniel the full extent of the abuse she had suffered. It doesn't matter now. What matters is that your father seemed to respect what I've overcome. He said it made him see me differently. So, what are you thinking? Nathaniel asked. About his offer? I'm torn, Selina admitted. On one hand, it would be an amazing opportunity to expand the work I care about. On the other hand, I'd be working for your family, which comes with its own complications. You'd be working for my father, Nathaniel corrected. Not my mother, that's an important distinction. True, Selina nodded, and he was clear that I'd report directly to him, not to Eleanor or the committee. That would drive my mother crazy, Nathaniel said with a hint of amusement. She's always controlled the foundation. Which might be part of his motivation, Selina pointed out. Your parents don't exactly seem to have the most harmonious relationship. They don't, Nathaniel confirmed, but my father rarely does anything without multiple reasons. If he's offering you this position, it's because he sees some benefit to the company, to the family, and probably to himself. The question is, would it benefit me? Would it benefit us? Selina said. Nathaniel took her hands in his. What do you want to do? Forget about my father, the company, all of it. What would make you happy? Selina thought carefully before answering. I want to help women who have been through what I went through. I want to make a difference. And yes, part of me wants to prove to your family and their world that I belong here, that I have something valuable to contribute. Then I think you have your answer, Nathaniel said softly. Just promise me one thing. What's that? That you'll do this on your terms, not my father's. That you won't let him or anyone else change who you are. I promise, Selina said, squeezing his hands. That's one thing no one can take from me, not even the mighty Carringtons. 2 weeks later, Selina sat across from William Carrington once again, this time with Nathaniel by her side. They had worked out the details of her new position, Executive Director of Women's Empowerment Initiatives for the Carrington Foundation. She would have her own budget, her own staff, and the freedom to shape the program as she saw fit. There's one more thing, Selina said as William prepared to sign the agreement. I want to continue my work at the East Side Women's Shelter, at least 1 day a week. William frowned slightly. Is that necessary? You'll have plenty to do here. It is necessary, Selina insisted. It keeps me connected to the women we're trying to help. It keeps me grounded. William looked at Nathaniel, who simply shrugged. You won't win this one, Dad. Trust me. After a moment, William nodded. Very well. 1 day a week at the shelter, but I expect full commitment to the foundation the rest of the time. You'll have it, Selina promised. As they signed the papers, Eleanor burst into the office unannounced. William, what is this I'm hearing about a new division at the foundation, and Selina in charge of it? Her voice was tight with barely controlled anger. Exactly what it sounds like, Eleanor, William replied calmly. Selina will be heading our new Women's Empowerment Initiative. This is outrageous. The foundation has always been my domain. You can't just create new divisions without consulting me. Actually, I can, William countered. As chairman of the board, I have that authority. Eleanor turned to Selina, her eyes flashing. This was your idea, wasn't it? Worming your way into the family business. Actually, it was Dad's idea, Nathaniel interjected. He approached Selina, not the other way around. Eleanor looked disbelieving. William, is this true? It is, William confirmed. Selina has expertise in this area that will be valuable to the foundation. And frankly, Eleanor, it's time we did more than just write checks and host parties. I see, Eleanor said coldly. Well, don't expect me to help when this inevitably fails. I won't be associated with it. That's your choice, William said, but I think you're making a mistake. This initiative has the potential to do real good. And what about the gala? Eleanor demanded. Selina is supposed to co-chair with me. Will she have time for that with this new job? I'll make time, Selina said, keeping her voice level. I've already been working with Vivian on the details. Eleanor looked from Selina to William to Nathaniel, clearly feeling outnumbered. Fine, but don't say I didn't warn you when this all falls apart. With that, she stormed out of the office. Well, William said dryly, that went better than expected. Nathaniel laughed. Did it? She didn't threaten to cancel the gala, William pointed out. With your mother, that's practically a warm embrace. Selina couldn't help but smile. She was under no illusions that winning over Eleanor would be easy, or even possible, but she had William's support, and more importantly, Nathaniel's love. That was enough for now. The next month flew by in a whirlwind of activity. Selina divided her time between setting up her new division at the foundation, continuing her work at the shelter 1 day a week, and finishing her thesis. It was exhausting but fulfilling. Nathaniel, meanwhile, had successfully landed the Johnson account, a major victory that had forced the board to reconsider their position. He was gradually regaining the responsibilities they had taken away, proving through his work that his marriage had not affected his professional judgment. The night of the Carrington Foundation annual gala arrived, a crisp autumn evening with clear skies and a hint of frost in the air. The event was being held at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, with 500 of New York's elite in attendance. Selina stood in front of the mirror in their bedroom, studying her reflection. The dress she had chosen, a deep burgundy gown with clean, elegant lines, was more sophisticated than anything she had worn before, but still true to her understated style. "You look incredible," Nathaniel said, coming up behind her and wrapping his arms around her waist. "So do you," she replied, admiring his classic black tuxedo in the mirror. "Very James Bond." "Are you ready for this?" he asked. "All eyes will be on us tonight." "Let them look," Selina said with newfound confidence. "I have nothing to hide." When they arrived at the museum, the red carpet was lined with photographers and reporters. Eleanor had insisted on this level of publicity, though Selina suspected it was partly to make her uncomfortable. "Mr. and Mrs. Carrington," called out a reporter as they stepped onto the carpet. "How are you enjoying married life?" "It's wonderful," Nathaniel replied smoothly, his arm around Selina's waist. "Best decision I ever made." "Selina," another reporter called, "is it true you're now running a division of the Carrington Foundation?" "Yes," she confirmed, finding her voice. "The Women's Empowerment Initiative. We're focusing on supporting survivors of domestic violence and helping women achieve economic independence." "And how does it feel to be accepted into the Carrington family?" a third reporter asked with a hint of skepticism. Selina smiled directly at the camera. "I'm grateful for the opportunity to contribute to the family's philanthropic work, but more importantly, I'm thankful for my husband's unwavering support and love." Inside, the museum's great hall had been transformed into an elegant reception area. Crystal chandeliers hung from the high ceilings, and floral arrangements in autumn hues adorned every table. A string quartet played softly in one corner. Eleanor approached them immediately, looking regal in a sapphire blue gown and diamond jewelry that probably cost more than everything Selina owned combined. "You're late," she said by way of greeting. "The Vandermeers have been asking for you, Nathaniel. They're near the Egyptian exhibit." "We'll find them later, Mother," Nathaniel replied. "Right now I'd like to get my wife a drink." Eleanor's lips thinned, but she nodded curtly. "Fine, but please try to mingle. This event is important for the foundation." As Eleanor walked away, Selina squeezed Nathaniel's hand. "It's okay, we should socialize. That's part of why we're here. I just don't want you to feel like you're on display," he said protectively. "I'm getting used to it," she assured him. "Besides, this is a chance to talk about the new initiative, to make connections that might help our work." They made their way through the crowd, stopping to chat with various guests. Some were genuinely interested in Selina's new role at the foundation. Others were clearly just curious about the woman who had captured Nathaniel Carrington. Caroline Hammond was there, of course, looking stunning in a silver gown that left little to the imagination. She air-kissed Nathaniel's cheek and gave Selina a brittle smile. "Selina, darling, that dress is nice, so simple." "Thank you, Caroline," Selina replied pleasantly. "How are the junior committee plans coming along? I was sorry to miss the last meeting." "We're managing without you," Caroline said dismissively, "though we heard you've been very busy with your new initiative, Selina corrected. "And yes, it's been exciting setting everything up. We're already partnering with 3 shelters in the city." Caroline's eyes flickered with what might have been genuine surprise. "Well, how, productive of you." As the evening progressed, Selina found herself separated from Nathaniel as they each got pulled into different conversations. She was speaking with a potential donor about the Women's Empowerment Initiative when she overheard a familiar voice nearby. "It's all for show, of course," Eleanor was saying to a small group of women. "William thinks giving her a title and an office will make people forget where she came from. But you can't change someone's basic nature. It's only a matter of time before she shows her true colors." Selina felt her cheeks burn, but she kept her composure, excusing herself from her conversation. She turned to face Eleanor directly. "Mrs. Carrington," she said, her voice calm but carrying enough that those nearby could hear. "If you have concerns about my work at the foundation, I'd be happy to discuss them with you, privately." Eleanor's eyes widened in surprise, clearly not having realized Selina was within earshot. The women around her looked uncomfortable. "I was merely expressing my opinion," Eleanor said stiffly. "And I respect your right to have one," Selina replied. "But I'd appreciate the same courtesy in return. Judge me by my work, not by your assumptions about my basic nature." A tense silence fell over the group. Then, unexpectedly, one of the women spoke up. I, for one, think the Women's Empowerment Initiative is long overdue, she said. My sister volunteers at a domestic violence shelter in Boston. The need is tremendous. Exactly, Selina said gratefully. And with the resources of the Carrington Foundation, we can make a real difference. Another woman nodded. My daughter's college roommate had to drop out because of an abusive boyfriend. If she'd had somewhere to turn for help, the conversation shifted, with several women sharing stories or asking questions about the initiative. Eleanor stood frozen, clearly surprised by the turn of events. Ladies, if you'll excuse me, Eleanor finally said, I need to check on the silent auction. As she walked away, Selina felt a hand on her shoulder. It was William. Well handled, he said quietly. You stood your ground without creating a scene. Eleanor could learn a thing or two from you. I wasn't trying to embarrass her, Selina said. I just want a chance to prove myself through my work. And you will, William assured her. In fact, you already are. The board was quite impressed with your presentation last week. Really? Selina asked, surprised. She had presented her plans for the initiative to the Foundation's board, but hadn't received much feedback. Really, William confirmed. Even the skeptics admitted you know what you're talking about, and more importantly, that you care about the results, not just the appearance of doing good. Across the room, Nathaniel was watching them with a curious expression. He excused himself from his conversation and made his way over. Everything okay? He asked, looking between Selina and his father. More than okay, William said. Your wife just gave my wife a lesson in grace under pressure. Nathaniel raised an eyebrow. Do I want to know? Probably not, Selina said with a small smile. But it's fine, really. If you say so, Nathaniel said, still looking concerned. It's almost time for the speeches. Are you ready? As co-chair of the gala, Selina was expected to say a few words, along with Eleanor and William. She had prepared carefully, wanting to make a good impression. As ready as I'll ever be, she said, taking a deep breath. The guests were asked to take their seats in the Temple of Dendur, where dinner would be served. The ancient Egyptian temple, with its sandstone columns and reflecting pool, made a dramatic backdrop for the evening's main event. William spoke first, welcoming everyone and thanking them for their support of the foundation. Eleanor followed, her speech polished and practiced, highlighting the foundation's accomplishments over the past year. Then it was Selina's turn. As she walked to the podium, she felt a momentary flutter of nerves. So many eyes on her, so many people waiting for her to fail. But then she caught Nathaniel's gaze, saw the love and pride in his eyes, and found her courage. Good evening, she began. For those who don't know me, I'm Selina Carrington. 8 months ago, I was working night shifts at a laundromat and volunteering at a women's shelter. Today, I stand before you as the executive director of the Carrington Foundation's Women's Empowerment Initiative. She paused, looking out at the sea of faces. My journey to this podium has been unconventional, to say the least. I grew up in foster care. I've known what it means to be alone, to be afraid, to feel powerless, but I've also known what it means to find strength within yourself when there seems to be no other option. The room was completely silent now, all eyes fixed on her. The women we aim to help through this initiative are not so different from me. They're fighting battles most of us can't imagine. They're making impossible choices. They're rebuilding their lives from scratch. She looked at Nathaniel again, drawing strength from his presence. When I married Nathaniel Carrington, many people wondered what I could possibly bring to the table. What could a girl from the foster system offer one of New York's oldest and most respected families? She smiled slightly, her confidence growing. The answer, I hope, is perspective, empathy, and a first-hand understanding of the issues our foundation aims to address. Because real change doesn't come from charity alone. It comes from connection, from recognizing our shared humanity, regardless of where we come from or what we own. From the corner of her eye, Selina could see Eleanor sitting stiffly, her expression unreadable, but William was nodding slightly, and Nathaniel was beaming with pride. The Women's Empowerment Initiative isn't just about helping women in crisis. It's about creating paths to independence and dignity. It's about breaking cycles of violence and poverty. And most importantly, it's about seeing the potential in every person, regardless of their circumstances. She took a deep breath, coming to the end of her speech. I want to thank William Carrington for believing in this vision, and most of all, I want to thank my husband, Nathaniel, for seeing me, truly seeing me, from the very beginning, for loving me not despite my background, but because of the person it helped me become. The applause that followed was thunderous. People were standing, their faces showing genuine emotion. Even some of those who had been the most skeptical Caroline Hammond, James Whitmore, were applauding with what appeared to be sincere appreciation. As Selina returned to her seat, Nathaniel stood to embrace her, whispering in her ear, "That was incredible. You were incredible." William, too, nodded his approval. "Well said, Selina. Very well said." Only Eleanor remained seated, her hands barely moving in a token clap. But even she couldn't deny the impact of Selina's words on the crowd. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of congratulations and expressions of support. Potential donors approached Selina, eager to learn more about the initiative. Society women who had previously ignored her now sought her out, asking how they could get involved. By the time they left, well after midnight, Selina was exhausted but exhilarated. In the car ride home, she rested her head on Nathaniel's shoulder. "I think that went well," she said with characteristic understatement. Nathaniel laughed. "It went better than well. You were the star of the night. Did you see how many people wanted to talk to you afterward? Even my mother's friends were impressed." "Not your mother, though," Selina pointed out. "My mother is a hard sell," Nathaniel admitted. "But even she can't deny that you made an impact tonight. The foundation will probably see record donations because of your speech." "I just spoke from the heart," Selina said simply. "That's what made it powerful," Nathaniel told her. "In a world of carefully crafted images and rehearsed sincerity, you're the real thing, Selina, and people respond to that, even if they don't quite understand why." When they arrived home, Selina kicked off her heels with a sigh of relief. "I think this calls for a celebration," she said. "I believe we have some champagne in the fridge." "We do," Nathaniel confirmed, loosening his tie. "But first, I have something for you." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "What's this?" Selina asked. "Open it," he encouraged. Inside was a delicate necklace with a simple pendant, a small diamond surrounded by tiny sapphires. "It's beautiful," she breathed. "But what's the occasion?" "Do I need an occasion to give my wife a gift?" Nathaniel asked with a smile. "But if you must know, it's to celebrate your triumph tonight, and to remind you that you're a star in your own right, not just Mrs. Nathaniel Carrington." Selina felt tears well up in her eyes. "You always know exactly what to say." "Only because you make it easy," he replied, helping her put on the necklace. "I am so proud of you, Selina, of your strength, your compassion, your unwillingness to compromise who you are." "Even when it makes your life more difficult?" she asked. "Especially then," he assured her. "Because you challenge me to be better, to stand up for what's right, not just what's expected." As they sipped champagne by the window, looking out at the city lights, Selina reflected on how far they had come since that day at St. Patrick's Cathedral. The road hadn't been easy, and there were surely more challenges ahead. Eleanor might never fully accept her. Society might always whisper behind her back, but none of that mattered. What mattered was that she had stayed true to herself, that she had found love with a man who valued her for exactly who she was, and that together they were building a life that honored both their worlds, his privilege and her perspective, his resources and her resilience. "Penny, for your thoughts?" Nathaniel asked, noticing her contemplative expression. "I was just thinking about the day we got married," she said, "about how your friends said wait until you see his bride, like I was going to be some kind of joke." "I remember," Nathaniel said, his expression darkening slightly at the memory. "They were right in a way," Selina continued, "but not for the reasons they thought. They weren't ready to see someone like me, someone who didn't fit their narrow definition of worth. But you were. You saw me, Nate, the real me, and I fell in love with everything I saw," he said simply. Selina touched the necklace at her throat, feeling its delicate weight. Tonight felt like a turning point, like maybe some of them are finally starting to see me too. "They'd be blind not to," Nathaniel said. "But even if they never do, it doesn't change who you are or what you're capable of." "I know that now," Selina agreed. "And that's the most valuable thing you've given me. Not your name or your wealth, but the confidence to stand tall in any room no matter who's watching or what they think." As they finished their champagne and got ready for bed, Selina's phone chimed with a message. It was from Jennifer, the young woman from the junior committee. "Your speech was amazing tonight. You inspired so many of us. My aunt finally left her abusive husband last week and she's staying at the East Side shelter. The work you're doing matters. Thank you." Selina showed the message to Nathaniel, her eyes bright with tears. "See," he said softly, "this is why all the struggle is worth it. This is the difference you're making." And as they drifted off to sleep in each other's arms, Selina knew he was right. The whispers and judgments would always be there, but so would moments like these, moments of connection, of impact, of real change. She had walked into that church 4 months ago as a woman many thought didn't belong. She had faced their stares and their assumptions with quiet dignity, and now, step by step, she was creating a place for herself in this world, not by becoming what they wanted her to be, but by being exactly who she was. It wasn't about proving them wrong anymore. It was about living her truth, using her voice and standing tall, not just for herself but for all the women like her who needed someone to show them it was possible. And with Nathaniel by her side, believing in her even when she doubted herself, there was nothing she couldn't face, no room she couldn't enter with her head held high, no challenge she couldn't overcome, because love, real love, didn't ask you to be smaller or quieter or more like everyone else. It gave you the courage to be more fully yourself than you ever thought possible, and that was the greatest gift of all, the end.